cited the measles outbreak in West Texas and the 20,000 some staff that has been fired or taken buyouts from HHS. There were some fiery exchanges, and at the beginning of Kennedy's statement in the Senate hearing this afternoon, he was interrupted by protesters who were escorted out.
The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects.
The protesters were saying RFK kills people with AIDS.
Wow, that's remarkable. Okay, Selena, what did you learn from Kennedy today?
Well, one thing is that Kennedy said Elon Musk and his team developed the blueprint for those cuts, the 20,000 people who have left the agency, and then he implemented the plan with an ability to override things. He mentioned he prevented Head Start from being cut, for example. That's an early child care program. Kennedy did seem a bit fuzzy on the specifics of what actually was cut and how many of those cuts have affected services. So many issues that lawmakers mentioned, like delays in payments to community groups and clinical trial issues, he said he had to look into things and get back to lawmakers. He did not have a lot of clarity about who was fired at HHS and why and what portion of those fired might be brought back. Here is an exchange Kennedy had with Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey. Kim said he had talked to a fire captain who worked at Ground Zero and was upset about HHS cutting the World Trade Center health program.
Why was the staff cut for this program? What are we to expect going forward?
I restored the staff to the program.
But why was it cut to start with?
It was, it was part of the overall budget cuts.
Kennedy said the time it would have taken to prevent mistakes like this would have allowed inertia to set in. The agency would have remained too big and unable to help the American population get healthier, which he says is his big goal.
Okay, let me ask you this. The issue of vaccines was a huge issue during Kennedy's confirmation. How did that play out today?
Well, the chair of the Senate Health Committee, Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, he did not make vaccines a big part of his questioning. I was watching for that. But another senator, Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, did, and it got contentious. Here is some of that exchange.
Are you actually still recommending people get the vaccine, or are you not?
Senator, if I advised you to swim in a lake that I knew there to be alligators in, wouldn't you want me to tell you there were alligators in it?
So are you recommending the measles vaccine or not?
What I've said and what I said...
It doesn't sound like you are, if that's...
Are you going to let me answer? Or are you going to keep it?
Are you or are you not?
Kennedy was asked several times in the House hearing and in the Senate hearing about the measles vaccine in particular, and he did not clearly endorse it. He instead said that he didn't think people should be getting their medical advice from him.
Well, Selena, did it seem like lawmakers are willing to push back on the direction that Kennedy is taking the department?
Kennedy got a lot of pushback from Democrats, and he got some tough questions from Republican lawmakers, and of course they hold the majority in both the House and the Senate. Several Republicans seem to really concerned about the plan to cut back on biomedical research. Lawmakers from Oklahoma and Maine, for instance, brought this up. That funding has been a huge economic driver in those communities. But the picture Kennedy kept painting is that NIH has been investing in the wrong places, not doing quality science. And in general, Kennedy seems like he's standing behind the huge sweeping changes to his agency.
NPR Selena Simmons-Staffen, thank you.
Thank you.
On the field, Pete Rose was a star.
From Shaw, there it is! Rose has a good stop.
Rose amassed the most hits of any Major League Baseball player, a record that he still holds today. But Rose's legacy has been mired in controversy. He was banned from the MLB for life in 1989 for betting on games as a manager and player, essentially dashing any hopes of him making it into the Hall of Fame. Well, this week, bans on Rose and 15 other players were lifted. In a surprise decision, MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred decided that deceased players should be removed from the league's ineligible list. Rose died last September, and so what is the impact of this decision, and what does it mean for Pete Rose's legacy? Keith O'Brien is the author of Charlie Hustle, The Rise and Fall of Pete Rose and the Last Glory Days of Baseball. He joins us again. Welcome back to All Things Considered.
Great to be with you, Elsa.
Great to have you. Okay, so first, do you have a sense of what might have led the MLB to make this decision?